This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Black Hand of the Mexican Mafia. Prison gang politics.
Hi, my name is Rene Enriquez, and I'm a former Mexican Mafia member. I defected in 2002, and I've since been educating the general public and law enforcement about non-traditional organized crime. We're going to talk today about La Nuestra Familia. Translated, it's our family. La Nuestra Familia is the rival organization of the Mexican Mafia. That's how I became so familiar with it, as they were our chief and primary adversaries in the organization. The Nuestra Familia is a very rigid paramilitary organization, and it was created in 1965. The founders of the organization are Gonzalo Hernandez, Freddy Gonzalez, Bruce Morgan, John Lopez, and Babo Sosa. These individuals founded the organization in Soledad State Prison, CTF, California Training Faculty, in Martinez. I believe it's in Martinez in King County, Northern California. And it was formed as a result of the Mexican Mafia victimizing Northern California inmates, Hispanic inmates from the Hispanic gang subculture. These individuals were deemed as less sophisticated than Los Angeles gang members. So they were victimized frequently. As a result, these individuals formed an organization which was in opposition of the Mexican Mafia. But contrary to popular belief, the Mexican Mafia and the NF existed cohesively in general population yards and prisons before the shoe wars, and we'll get into that in a minute. The shoe war was between the NF and the MF, and it's since become a war between the Sureños and the Norteños. The Sureños and Norteños are Southern California Hispanics that identify with the Hispanic gang subculture of Southern California, have adopted the ideology of and surrendered their autonomy to the Mexican Mafia. Norteños are the same version from Northern California. It literally the shoe war began over a pair of shoes. Robot Salas had somebody steal a pair of shoes from a NF affiliate or associate. As a result of a conflict on the tier or confrontation, Robot Salas stabbed the associate. The NF retaliated by killing a Mexican Mafia associate. As a result of numerous stabbings and murders of the NF by members of the Mexican Mafia, as a subsequent result of this war, a Mexican Mafia member by the name of Cheyenne Cadena was murdered in Palm Hall. Cheyenne Cadena was an idealist. He was a visionary, and he was attempting to bring about peace between the two organizations. He was into cultural pride and cultural identity. In fact, Cheyenne Cadena was the originator of the phrase La M for the Mexican Mafia to give it its distinct flair and its own identity, as the Mexican Mafia was synonymous with the Italian Mafia, and he wanted it to have an ethnic flair. Well, as a result of Cheyenne's murder, and he was killed by one of the founders, Babo Sosa, among four other NF members. They stabbed him repeatedly in Palm Hall in Chino, California, here in Southern California. It created a war in the organization. To date, Cheyenne Cadena, Rudy Cadena, is the only Mexican Mafia member ever killed by the Nuestra Familia. But the Mexican Mafia has killed dozens of NF members. There were attempts at peace in the year 2000 between the Mexican Mafia and the Nuestra Familia. But these attempts at peace failed because the scars ran too deep for the NF. The enemies of the NF are obviously the M, the Aryan Brotherhood, the Sureños, the NLR, Nazi lowriders, the Northern Riders. The Northern Riders, and this necessitates a little bit of explanation. The NR is a substructure of the NF. There are two factions of NR. There is Nuestra Raza, which is a part of the infrastructure of the NF, akin to what the Sureños are to the Mexican Mafia. But this is a breakaway sect of Norteños. They don't even consider themselves Norteños. They're considered Northern Riders. And they are former NF members and former Norteños who don't wish to pay taxes to the organization. And then there are the Fresno Bulldogs. The Fresno Bulldogs are also located in Northern California, but they don't consider themselves norteños. They are actually individuals who stand alone amongst all organizations. Here's a picture of early NF members. And there is no, in NF, there is no clear requirement, as in the Mexican Mafia, of ethnic purity. If I don't mean to be politically incorrect, but the Mexican Mafia has a rule that it's Mexicans only. There are exceptions to that rule that allow people from other ethnicities to join, but the NF doesn't have that requirement. As you can see, there are individuals with Afro, a couple of other individuals who are Anglo, and this is the standard for the NF. As long as you're a norteño and you identify with their ideology, you can become a member. There is a distinct paramilitary hierarchy in the NF. It's categorized in 3 different levels. Category 1 being the lowest level of membership. This is newly inducted members and soldiers. These are for akin to new Mexican Mafia members that are made. They come in at Category 1. Category 2 is basically what they call maestros, teachers. These are mid-level management up to the captain level. And they handle mid-level responsibilities. And Category 3 is the leadership. That's the highest rung of status you can achieve in their organization. Again, I can't emphasize strongly enough the difference in the ideology of the organizations. The NF has a very structured hierarchy, command structure, and rigid disciplinary principles, as well as a lista akin to the Mexican Mafias. At the top rung of the Nuestra Familia is the leadership of the NF, the generals. There are 3 distinct generals with 3 distinct sets of responsibilities. The General de Pinta is responsible for all prison activities, including hits and all other activities which occur in prisons. But he is only responsible for California prisons. There are generals out of state in the NF and the feds, or the federal prison system, the BOP, Board of Prisons, that have responsibilities there. So the general of the Pinta in California is responsible for California prisons. The general of the streets is responsible for street activities, for regiments on the streets. They have regiments and regimental commanders as well. And these individuals control Northern California jails. And there's a general administrative offices. It's called the GAO. These 3 generals combined. The general administrative offices is responsible for finances, background checks, and investigations of members. So each share a distinct role in their leadership, and each has a distinct set of responsibilities. These 3 generals combined form the upper rung of NF leadership. Next is the Inner Council. The Inner Council is made up of 5 to 10 influential Category 3 members. These are individuals who have palabra. Palabra translated is word, credibility, or influence, as it's a phrase that is known through the prison subculture. Palabra is juice. It's what we call the influence of the organization. These individuals form the Inner Council, and they advise the generals in the NF. Combined, the Inner Council and the generals form the General Council. This is comprised, again, of the generals and 5 to 10 Inner Council members. And collectively, they govern the organization. No one member has more influence than the other. So it's evenly dispersed, the responsibilities and the influence of the organization. A general doesn't have more influence than an Inner Council member, and an Inner Council member doesn't have more influence of a general. These are well-respected members of the hierarchy in the organization. For now, I'd like you to see a video by a former NF member by the name of Robert Grattan. He can take you inside the Nuestra Familia as he was a made member, a captain in the organization.
This is Rene Enriquez. Nickname Boxer.